The other item I wanted to talk about, I guess, is natural resources. And we all know as First Nations people, not just us in the Treaty 3 territory, but all of Turtle Island, or all of human nature, I guess, humans. We're stewards of the land, we're caretakers of the land, and sometimes I really think about what's happening. Like, say, I'll provide an example in my own workplace. I've been involved with natural resources, forestry, mining, and stuff like that. And in one particular event that took place probably about 10, 12 years ago is a forestry company, Domtar in Dryden, were planning to cut in a traditional area that our community wanted to protect. So we negotiated with M&R and the forestry company that we needed to do a buffer zone in a given area, and we did that, we did that. We identified an area, and the mining company agreed that they would not cut in that area. They would only cut a certain distance away from that sacred site that our people identified, and then what happened was maybe a few months later, somebody happened to go in that given area, and then they saw there was a harvesting activity right in the area where our people wanted to protect. Before I make my concluding remarks with respect to that, I want to go to another area close to that area where our people identified. There's another area there. It's a sacred site. It's a big rock. It stands. It looks like a shake tent, but it's huge. It's at least maybe 12, 15 feet tall, and it has pictographs all around it. And our people call it Chiskan Kabatakiteg. In English, it's where the shake tent stands. That's what they call that sacred site. Again, our people identify that area to be protected, and they created a buffer zone around that given area. And but what happened was a devastating storm came by, hurricane force winds came by and just broke trees, big trees like matchsticks. They leveled, and that area our people wanted protected was leveled during that storm. And I've never asked. I've talked about it. I've tried to get some of our elders to maybe seek answers as to why that happened. In my own thinking, I always try to look at the bigger picture. Why do these things happening? What did we do wrong? So in that context, that's what I wanted to find out was why. We took to great lengths to have that area protected. We even had a ceremony at we still go there. We feast the area. We go there in the fall. In the spring. I go there with my brothers and some of my friends. We go there to do our offerings. That those offerings are for the benefit of our people. And anyways, the storm came by and flattened the forest, all around that sacred area. So that got me to thinking, what are we doing wrong? Again, we can find out through ceremony. But in my own thinking, I think about that notion that we are, yeah, and I believe that. I agree that we are stewards, we are caretakers of Mother Earth, but but we are also but we were also provided the natural resources on Mother Earth to sustain us as a people. So in that regard, this was a forestry venture that we asked not to come into that area. And by the way, they ended up taking those trees that were flattened, the trees that we said they shouldn't have because it's a sacred area. They eventually got them anyway. So my thinking is, why was there some way we could have went to ceremony and asked if we could have participated in the forestry activity and have our people gain something out of it, gain some benefits from the resource extraction and stuff like that. Like in my beliefs, we can do that. But we need to go to ceremony, ask how we can participate without offending the spirits in that given area or without offending Mother Earth herself. And I believe in that, because, like I say, natural resources were put there so we could benefit also. But there are means and ways that we can participate without. They call Ogichidaa is what our people call is if negative things will happen through our actions. That's what Ogichidaa means to me. So to avoid that situation, I believe we need to find ways. How do we participate in when proponents come into our territory and we tell them we're the caretakers? No, you can't do that. But my own view, we can go to ceremony and ask Creator, ask the spirits that reside in their area. There's about to be disturbance in the landscape, that where you reside. Is there any ways we can participate so we can benefit, or is the answer no activity, period? If the answer is no, then yes, there can be no activity. But I'm also very certain that we'd be allowed to do certain activities. That's why with any new proposed project in our territory, they have to go through two environmental assessments. One provincially and one federally. Well, we can have our own too. We can do our own First Nations environmental assessment through our ceremonies. That's how we mitigate destruction or disturbance of the landscape in the Treaty 3 territory. That's what I believe in. And that's what I often wondered, why that area with why that storm flattened those trees. What did we do wrong? Is there a message there that we need to seek that message? Why did that happen? So through ceremony we can find these answers, and we can, and I believe too that we'd be allowed to participate in certain activities of natural resource extraction in our area, because we also know that forest, we need to get rid of old growth forests sometimes too, because that's what causes a forest to die off, is old growth. So we need to create that balance. So that's what I believe in. And also with respect to other natural resources and activities or gifts from the Creator, we have blueberries. Blueberry season. I remember growing up as a kid, our people used to go up the end of Lopstick Bay here. They go up top of a big hill and they used to camp out there. They had tents out there. Half the community used to be there picking blueberries and stuff like that. So they would pick some berries, and they would come back to the community. They would prepare them, and then we'd have a feast. They would feast for the. So the whole community used to gather in a given area in our community and have that big feast, to ensure, we do offerings to Mother Earth and the spirit of the blueberry plant itself, and we asked for a good harvest, and that our harvest would last for a good period of time, so we could store some of the blueberries for future use, like in the winter time, and or have preserves and this and that. That was part of how we sustained ourselves, by utilizing the gifts from the creator, the blueberries. And the other one is where wild rice used to be so plentiful, very, very sparse these days, and often we blame the fluctuation in water levels because of the dams in Fort Francis or wherever, or downstream, just Norman Dam and stuff like that, and International Joint Commission, how they lower and raise the levels of Lake of the Woods. That's what our people say is causing why there's a lack of wild rice. Again, I tend to try and look at the whole picture, and for me, we've all heard the saying, use it or lose it, and to me, it's because we've lost the will or the ambition to go out and pick rice. Like hardly anybody does that now, and we used to do that too, the same way as how we picked harvested blueberries. We had a committee, of some men that would take a look at the progression of the wild rice right from floating stage till it was ready to pick, and when those four men, our committee determined that it was ready to pick, they would go out and pick a bag full of wild rice, and they'd come home, they'd roast and parch it and prepare it, and we'd have the whole community would be asked again to come to a community feast, and again we'd feast Mother Earth, we'd feast the spirits in the water, and we also feast the spirit of the the wild rice itself, and it was part of who we are. It was our governance system. That's how we were caretakers, but we had certain responsibilities we had to do to ensure that we had good crops and this and that. And then today, there's hardly anybody that picks blueberries, blueberries or wild rice, and I believe it's because we don't do the necessary requirements of feasting these gifts from the Creator. And then, like say over here where I live too, behind my house here, used to be plentiful of wild plums, choke cherries, pin cherries, all kinds of berries that grow on trees. And when I was growing up, my grandmother, my mom, used to pick those, and they would make preserves out of them. Even they'd use certain berries to color something. Use as a dye. This and that. We utilized the gifts of the Creator. But you take a look behind my house now. I don't have plums. I don't have the choke cherries. I don't have the pin cherries. Again, we go back to that term. Use it or lose it. It's like we're telling the Creator we don't appreciate the gifts that you present for us. I'd rather go to Safeway and Safeway or another chain store and buy my plums, my cherries, and whatever, and that's the message we're sending to the Creator. That's why all these things are happening to us. It's us. We need to create. We need to rebalance our relationship with Mother Earth, Creator, and the spirits that reside in our vicinity. That's what I truly believe, is happening, and I just wanted to point that out. People may think I'm self-righteous or whatever, but it's, for me, it's natural for me to think like that, because I believe that it was never intended for us to remain constant and have that real narrow view of things, that we're not supposed to do that, we're not supposed to do that. There's evolution taking place, all the time. Things are changing, even the way we work, even, everything else is become electronic, and that's the way of the world today, the workforce, and we need to find a way, how we can modernize, our way of life. Our way of life, our teachings, they have to remain constant. They have to remain the way they are. They came from the Creator. As human beings, we can't change, but we can go to ceremony, ask, how can we adapt these teachings to fit the modern way of doing things? Modernize our teachings to fit today's realities. That's what I firmly believe in. That's what I do in my own personal life. I remain strong. I abide by my teachings, but I ask in ceremony, how can I do this and not offend Mother Earth, the Creator, or the spirits, or my people? Sometimes my people get offended. They say we're not listening to them. But for me, that's what ceremony is all about. We have shake tents, and we have sweat lodges, Metewan lodges, Sundance lodges, teaching lodges. That's our means of looking ahead and asking how we can mitigate certain things, and make it right. So. And yes, we are caretakers, but we also must participate in, just like having a garden. A garden is not going to grow all by itself. You got to take care of it daily. You got to weed it, you got to water it, and you got to take care of it. And that's what I believe we need to do with Mother Earth, is take care of it in that way. Take out, weed out what's bad for the environment and this and that. So that's what I wanted to talk about in that regard.